It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 135. Is it really 135? Or I got the number wrong. Who knows? Mystery time. It's the Space Museum.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, Toby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS would be free of the force field.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine, Stephen. It's like a person, you see.
The resulting reaction describe it. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old
Doctor Who
show, your tri-weekly classic Doctor Who review podcast. Oh, my name is Eric, joined always because
I'm over here, near Dan.
Dan.
Well, actually, we're not that near, but hey, it's the internet.
We're here to talk about
connected.
Barbarian, the new horror film directed by one of the people that was in The Whitest Kids You Know. No, we're not there to talk about that, although I did see that yesterday.
Podcast. Oh.
I did see that yesterday.
I don't know anything about that.
Theater.
You went to a theater?
I've been to a theater a lot.
You're one of those.
I'm
guys.
one of those guys. I've never not had COVID yet, but maybe I'm one of those super spreaders.
That's me, knocking on wood. Super spreaders who don't catch it. You just give it.
I just give it out.
You know, it's better to give.
Give the kids what they want. And speaking of giving the kids what they want, I would say we have not seen, or you haven't heard from us in 3 weeks, but hey, we've been putting out new episodes of the old Doctor Who show presents The Sandman. Then last week we just had our episode number 4 released. So that's going to continue onward, and hopefully you people are enjoying it.
I'm enjoying talking with Eric about it, and that's what really matters.
Yeah, so you've been getting a lot of Dan and Eric.
Every Wednesday from here until we wrap this thing up, we'll get either a Sandman or
and I don't know why we did that. I hardly had any time anyway. Like this 3-week thing, I was like a Bilbo Baggins might say. I felt like butter spread over too much bread, or whatever the saying goes. Yeah, stretched a little thin, you know?
I hear
but we're giving it our all. Speaking of our all and hobbits, have you seen Rings of Power? Because I have not.
For some reason, it was on my list. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. It'll be fine. Like, to be quite honest, I really liked. I've read
really
The Hobbit. I've read
Hobbit
Lord
movies.
of the Rings. I've read, and the movies were good. I loved the first one, and then I got subsequently less and less interested over time. But they're beautiful. Whatever.
I love all 3 of those movies.
Did not care for the Hobbit movie.
I saw the first Hobbit movie, and I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
did not see beyond
do anything for me. I watched the first one, same thing, just like okay, and so I thought maybe I was done. And then we had this Game of Thrones prequel coming out, and I was like, I don't really care about that. But then we ended up watching it, and forgetting about the Rings of Power, like I guess everyone's doing because the ratings aren't great. We finally
the ratings are not great on Rings of Power.
From what I've seen,
the old Doctor Who show fans will remember I did make a prediction on this very podcast that it would get canceled. Most expensive show of all time. I feel like they put too much into it to cancel it, but I kind of want to watch it.
Beautiful. It's so friggin' good. It's so
it's good. So you've watched it. So you fixed it.
Okay. They changed the artwork. They fixed it.
We just started watching it this week, and we're all caught up. It is, not only is it absolutely gorgeous, like better looking technically than the movies. I mean, whatever, 10, 15 years later.
They put a lot into it.
The acting's fantastic. The story, bouncing between a couple of different narrative threads as it goes along, has such the perfect mix of action and humor, and it's not just like silly. Like it's just done really well. The characters are great. I'm really, really, really enjoying it, and I didn't think I would. So
all right, so having seen, which I have not seen either, but you've seen House of the Dragon, and you've seen Rings of Power, at least one episode.
I've seen all of them.
You've seen all of them. You just said that.
Yep.
Which is better? Which gets the Dan bump? The DanJNJ at Twitter.com bump.
I would give Rings of Power the edge.
Oh, so there's
over-
a fire and there's a building, and you are saving Rings of Power. Interesting.
That's right. Well, I was also the one setting the fire to the building, so it's not really.
No, I do
Don't
really
call me
want
a
to see
hero.
it. I am a big J.R.R. Tolkien fan, Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
I love that world. I went into it, and I think my complaints were the first trailer that they released felt very just doing it for the sake of doing it. It didn't seem like it had a heart or a story or characters. It was just like a large corporation like Amazon throwing a bunch of money at something to have an quote-unquote IP. And it's not based on a book, as far as I know. I mean, maybe Silmarillion stuff. I don't know what age that was. But it seems like, okay, well, it's always kind of weird when a person creates something, then they die, and then someone else, decades later starts building on it. It always feels a little weird. Like, it doesn't have source material, but it's in that world. So all of that stuff sort of colored my view of it.
Yep.
But, like, everything that you said, and then I saw, like, the last trailer kind of looked cool. So I think I am probably going to watch it.
I absolutely would. I mean, for either of those shows, was the prequel necessary for either of these? No, but I think it's better done in Rings of Power. Not to say that the Game of Thrones one is bad. It's so unnecessary to me that I'm not sure what they're doing or why.
Let me ask you this, because this is no longer... Not only do we have a Doctor Who podcast where we don't talk about Doctor Who, and then we invent other podcasts, but now all of a sudden it's a pick your favorite
We've always
fantasy
talked
show.
about...
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Is George R.R. Martin involved in House of the Dragon? Like, is he...
Have you not seen the trailers? He's playing all the characters.
Oh, so his little railroad hat is actually... You find the origin story of the railroad hat. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, they just do it. They do it with different wigs and glasses. That's it. There's no other prosthetics. There's no CG. It's just wigs and glasses.
But is it based on like his idea or story, or is he getting a check?
I've seen his name go by in the credits. I don't know any more than that. It might just be a check. I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I like him. I read the first Game of Thrones book, whatever the hell that was called, a couple of years ago. So I like him as a storyteller. So
yeah. So this one, I like. I mean, there's dragons everywhere, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's not like a world full of dragons, but there's a significant number of dragons, which is super fun. Dragon riders, whatever. The main characters are well acted, are played by dragons. They're playing humans, but they are.
Yeah, you got Matt Smith as a major character.
Oh, look at us trying to figure out how to connect it back to Doctor Who.
There's always a connection to Doctor
Who. His platinum blonde does not work on him.
It doesn't work
all.
for his face at all. And I think that was a big drawback. Like when I saw the trailer for it and you see Matt Smith with that hair, it's like, that doesn't work.
No.
That's not a combo that some people can do blonde and some people cannot.
No.
I would put him in the cannot camp. Although maybe it works after a while. Maybe you get used to it. Because I do like Matt Smith. He seems like a nice enough fella. Good actor as well.
And he's great. The character is fantastic. He's killing it. I wish I could recall the characters or actors' names. He's really good. Princess Rhaenyra is really, really great. She's the kind of a central character in all this. The actress is fantastic. It's overall fine, but I don't know what they're doing it for or why. There's no, it's all of the intrigue of like the palace and all the small kingdoms and everything, but none of the big existential threat of the White Walkers coming, which was the overriding thing that kind of kept the pace of the original show going. It's just like, I guess he wants to take over this land. Okay. And now he's got to marry someone
So
off.
you're saying basically,
just,
if I'm getting this correct,
Sure.
They should have let Game of Thrones be its own thing and then put it on a shelf in a museum, a space museum.
Oh my God, this is good.
A fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Let's get over. I don't know. That way it felt as I was building, as I was moving the pieces, the chess
those
pieces. I realized I was playing checkers. Dan, let us let us hit that button and get into. Unless you have anything else, do we have Paper Girls was canceled? I told you people to watch it. No one watched it.
That was my bad. I take full responsibility for that. I didn't watch it.
It wasn't perfect. Like,
oh, that's why I didn't watch it.
It wasn't like, but shows
perfect
need more than one season.
Yeah.
To find themselves. Like any kind of creative thing, you have to have patience. They have all this money. They're throwing billions of dollars at Power of the Rings. They can't do 2 seasons of Paper Girls. Come on.
Nope.
It's fine. Yeah. So let's go. Let's hit that button.
Yeah.
Let's take us to the limit one more time, and talk about the sound of her. No. This is Space Museum, Dan. Space Museum. Space Museum. I got 2 tickets to the Space Museum.
Well, wouldn't that change the shape of things to come?
Well, it would for you. You'd be dead.
They can't kill us. We're going to end up in those cases.
Not necessarily. Oh, you can change the future so that we don't end up in those cases. But if we're all dead, what's the point?
That means we can't fight against anybody. We don't know what we're doing.
We've just lost the doctor. Has that already changed the future? We don't know, Vicky. Maybe that's the way it happened. We've no reason to suppose that we all ended up in the cases at exactly the same time. So we could be doing exactly what we're supposed to do.
I've had enough of this. Now listen, we're going to deal with him. And then we're going after the doctor whether we're supposed to or not.
This is Space Museum, Dan. This is written by Glenn Jones of the Glenn Jones Radio Hour. And it's directed by Melvin Pinfield of the Matt Pinfields. This is from season number 2 of Doctor Who, popular science fiction show. This is released in 1965. The TARDIS somehow ends up on multiverse time track. Things are bizarre. They land on planet Zeros, I believe it is called. And they eventually see future versions of themselves in this space museum. And then they have to decide to wait it out till they arrive. And then they do arrive. And then it plays out as a subversive parable about youth culture and the old guard, and how just going to protest isn't enough. We need to take arms up, and we need to kill our parents to create a better world. Dan, what did you think of
your summary?
Museum?
Let me talk about your summary first. Genius. I mean, it really was like the the allegories to today. Activism really requires you to get on your feet and take stands.
Oh yeah, Vicky's my favorite part of this, because she's like, yeah, we could just talk about it, or we can just paint the streets in blood.
We just fucking do it. Right. She's got her pink pussy hat on. She's got a gun. It's really mixed messages going on here, but it's great.
She's got she's got a Manson girl vibe to her, which I didn't really pick up until this. I'm like, she's a little bit like Squeaky from.
Yeah.
Or From. She would definitely kill for Charlie. That's, nothing against the real Vicky, but come on. I mean, if she had been in the Spawn Ranch at the right time, who knows what would happen.
That's right. She's one of those people really easily swayed. I mean, look at her. She got into a phone book too. Eric, what did I think of this one?
Yeah.
Is the question you had asked me.
Roll it back.
Episode 1 was so good. So good.
Yep.
It was. I didn't know what was going on.
Nope.
So we're in the era of the show where they would do, at the end of a story, they do like a little teaser for the next story. So it kind of sets you up and whets your appetite for the next one. But as you all know, because we're doing these things out of order, no freaking rhyme or reason to which ones we're doing. I didn't really know where they were coming from. So not that it mattered, but because it's so strange. They stand there, they're in their period clothing.
And we hadn't watched or reviewed the previous story, which is the Crusade, I believe.
Sure. No,
Right.
we have not done
So
that one.
sometimes
Yeah.
we have, like, we
So we're
did
gonna do that
see
one
the
next.
chase, which
I'm just kidding. We're not.
follows this one.
Yeah. So they were doing something, but then it starts off and they're all just standing there frozen.
Very
and we're just,
weird
like
opening.
staring at the time rotor going back and forth, and they're just like, "What happened?" And their clothes change.
Yeah. When I first watched it, like,
Weird.
I thought, because
You missed-
you and I, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. We lived,
You
we
and I-
lived together.
what was?
So I'm like, is Dan, like, did I start an episode? I'm like on episode 2.
Right,
Like,
right.
I had to stop it and then go back and search for episode 1 again and hit play. And I'm like, oh no, that's how it starts.
That's how it starts.
Like, I thought that this was like episode 3 and I missed something because it's a very weird opening.
Yeah, it is. It is a strange kind of what you call a cold open, I guess. Yeah, it was weird. So they were all in a daze. Then they had their ordinary clothes on all of a sudden, and the doctor's just like, "Yeah, that freaking happens all the time. It's relative dimension in space, time, and relative. Your clothes could be anywhere." So he tells Vicky to go check the closet to see if the clothes are there, and he's off on the next thing. Just
he's
doesn't
fine.
freaking. It's strange. But I like that because it sets the mood for the beginning. Like, what is happening? Why is it? Why is the doctor unfazed about this? Is this something that we should be worried about? Anyway, that was fun. Vicky goes and I forgot about the water dispenser being just a gigantic computer.
Yeah.
It's a whole wall of water, like whatever. So she gets that, drops the glass, and it bounces back into her hand, reversing time. No one believes her. But so, like, there's a bunch of stuff going on, and we're just not in the loop at all. Yeah. So they finally go to this planet. See all the technology lined up there. They go into the museum. Even the way that it's shot, like, there's a scene where they're like panning across the miniatures of all of the buildings that comprise the museum, and there's a shot of the front door, the main like garage door to go into the museum. And then it cuts to Barbara and Ian just like standing, looking in opposite directions, all dazed, and they turn around. It almost had this Twilight Zone feel to it. Everything just felt very unsettling in a really, really good way. Anyway, so they go into the museum, and they can't interact with things. No one can hear them. So the entire... It just set up a series of really subtle mysteries. Like, Barbara mentions how quiet it is. There's no sound.
Yeah, the footprints and stuff.
The footprint in the
all
dust,
that stuff was
nothing
cool.
happened. Where's the light coming from? Like, all these things, and not being able to like touch the exhibits. It was really, really fun. And then they finally obviously see themselves wrapped up like Kenner dolls, ready to go. And they kind of realize, oh, they jumped a time track. I love they just invent. I love
Yeah,
this.
that's
This
about it.
early
And
in
it
the
turns out like
series.
the cause of it was like a clothespin or something at the end.
was a
He's
flux
like,
capacitor
Yeah, this
at the
was
end,
not in all the way. Okay.
I just needed to wipe this off. We're all good. Yeah. Anyways, that was really fun. From there, for me, the rest of the story is fine. It changes tone and isn't as
Yeah, they
interesting.
dropped the whole multi-timeline existing thing pretty quickly. It's like once they get past it in the beginning, then they catch up with themselves.
Except that it's setting up the entire central premise of the story, which I guess for
Right,
1965,
is
this is
changing the future, right?
changing the future.
Yeah.
So like destiny versus fate. Are they actually able to change their future? If we try to do something to prevent the future from happening, is that actually the thing that causes the?
Yes,
all that
all
stuff
of those
is stuff that
questions are
we
in there.
see all the time now.
I liked all that.
But I loved it as well. I just don't know, putting myself into the context of 1965, how radical was this interpretation of? I'm sure it wasn't the first time this was kind of brought into popular culture, but their framing of this in this big story. I thought that was interesting, and Vicky and the doctor kind of have different points of view on that. Vicky's wonderful in this. Barbara and Ian, top of the class, doing the most through all this. Ian's got fight scenes. Barbara barely gets trapped in this one. Just the ones that I can remember, getting trapped in a broom closet. And then you have all the teenagers with giant eyebrows.
Yeah. Oh god, the eyebrows.
That is the thing that distinguishes their race, is the giant eyebrows. And you have the colonizing aliens that are there with their giant pompadours with striped skunk hair. Striped skunk hair is a thing they come back to again and again in Doctor Who. Anyway, that was, I'm giving you both what I thought about it and a summary. I don't know what you wanted from me, Eric. You tell me what you thought of this.
I will tell you what I thought, Dan.
Please.
I actually like this a lot. I should say I liked the ideas behind this a lot.
Yeah.
And I joked about it in the thing, the synopsis. Yes,
Yep.
I'm good with words. That it is super subversive. Like the ideas behind it and the revolution and the kids, the youth culture, but also the kids are wearing black. All of the, maybe that's a bit on the nose, the old white people that come to the planet of black clothed people to subjugate them and whatever. All of those ideas I thought were pretty, revolutionary, especially considering when this episode aired. I know there's also like the Vietnam War is happening, and I know in the U.S. there's a lot of stuff happening in colleges and the youth movement and anti-war movement. Just those kind of ideas, and how, like, the fact that Vicky is saying it's not enough to do this, we have to get guns, and then they do it. And even Ian has like some crazy. He's walking around with a gun half the time, doing some murder. There's like a lot of bickering between them, where they're just like scenes of just them fighting and being like, "Shut up, it's your fault." And like all of that stuff. We don't get a lot of that with this crew, like where they hate each other.
Yeah,
and that was
picked up on that
interesting to
too.
see them break down like that.
They did do that several times throughout, but I don't know if it's because the era or these actors or whatever, but they would immediately, "Oh, you're doing blah, 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 blah," and then, "Oh no, I'm sorry. I just needed something to eat. I'm just a little
That was
hungry."
great though. Like Ian is like,
I liked it too.
Yeah, like I
Self-aware,
forget what the word is. Not like I'm being short or I'm being irritable. He's like, I'm not being irritable, and then he walks away and goes, "Yeah, you're right. I was being a little bit irritable." And I was like,
I
"Oh,
loved
way
it.
to
Absolutely
diffuse
loved it.
and recognize your issues and learn from it, Ian."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. It did get like a little boring too. I mean, because once you establish the story, and then there's like, a lot of just stuff that just kind of repeats, and you have the whole thing with the doctor being prepped for the museum, and then they have the reverse the process, and there's just like a lot of talking about some of these ideas with not a lot of action. That gets a little boring. And then it seems like they set up Vicky. Honestly, like I think we've seen Vicky after this, but I was like, is this Vicky's last episode? Because it seemed like they were setting her up. She was going to stay with that guy. They're pretty much doing like that end scene where it was like
it felt like
are they gonna? Is she gonna say I'm staying here? But it did not happen.
It felt very much like Susan leaving.
Yeah.
Like we had this adventure in a different time, blah blah, blah, but I'm gonna stay here with them.
I thought for
it
sure
did
that
for a
was
second
coming,
feel like that too,
and
but
it didn't.
I'm glad they did not.
But I mean, overall, it was okay as far as like these stories go. I thought it was, I thought Hartnell was good in it.
I thought it was very good.
I really liked him.
Yeah.
Barbara and Ian were great. Vicky as a character I enjoy. So yeah, it was
She's
good.
such a good mix. I really like having Vicky.
Oh, and
she's
I
the best replacement for Susan.
I also felt there's like a lot of equality too in the language that they purposely set, like include women, at least with the youth culture.
Wait a minute,
when
though.
They're referring to like, we want to make get the best of every man and woman, they say at one point, and there's like at least stuff in that felt intentional to me, whether or not I'm bringing my own baggage. However,
except they do say that, and I wrote it down.
Right.
It's gonna require every man and woman in a room full of men.
True.
Like they had a whole bunch of extras there, and they were all guys.
But they had those eyebrows. Yes,
they did.
fair enough.
Maybe they were. I'm sorry, they presented as male. I don't know
Yes,
if they were
you
or
don't
not.
know.
You're
You don't
totally
know.
right. My bad.
But yes, yeah, that's a good counterpoint to the.
But you're right.
hypocrisy of that.
They did say that, which was.
It felt very progressive, but they're also like a peaceful situation, and it also sort of comes down against that, which is basically your peaceful ways led to your being dominated. So go get weapons, and that's the answer. So that's not necessarily a thing I like to see. How cute is the doctor in the TARDIS in the Dalek? That was fun. He's like popping out there, and it's like it looks like Oscar the Grouch, a little curmudgeon.
He was much more silly in the first, in the first couple of episodes of the story, which I really enjoyed. to the point. Well, so yes, I think he was very funny with the Dalek. The fact that he says, "I fooled them all. I'm the master," which is funny because it's not the master. Master doesn't show up till season 8, but it was like, oh, funny.
And the Dalek presence. So like, I think we did the chase. So is the chase a Dalek story?
Yes.
Okay, because that's the tease at the end. You get the Daleks having a time machine.
That was a nutty story. It's a 6-parter where they're jumping through different times. They go to the United States. They're on the top of the Empire State Building
with the New York guy,
the Frankenstein museum,
Okay.
amusement park. Yeah, all that. That one's freaking bonkers.
Yeah.
So good. But no, I like the Doctor's really silly in this one. And I like that the crew is. They know each other so much better now that they're able to almost kind of tease the Doctor in a way that they maybe wouldn't have done earlier. When they're in the second episode and they realize, oh, we've kind of jumped this time track and we have to try to figure out what to do, blah, blah. And they said, why don't we just go to the TARDIS and just leave now? And Ian says something like, the Doctor, he's curious. That means we're staying. And like, why are you always so interested in the least important things? Like, there's just like all these things they're picking up about the Doctor over time now, and just see that these people have a history together, which is really nice. I don't know where I was going with that. I don't
know. I feel like this would fall for me in an above average, especially but not not where I would maybe even want to watch it again or revisit it. But it was totally fine.
Near the top of the Hartnell list for me, for sure.
Yeah,
but
probably.
not
I haven't.
overall.
We haven't really loved all of the Hartnell stuff.
No, I mean, I will always remain a Colin Baker stan.
Sure,
best Doctor.
That's your favorite. The twin dilemma. That's why you have that tattoo.
God, if we were still doing Colin Baker stories to the extent that we're doing like Troughton.
We've been doing this show for so freaking long.
But we did every Colin Baker. We should go back and continue to
do them again.
Let's revisit them. They were so good. Yeah.
It was fine. I mean, I've said it before, but I just feel like on paper it's almost better than it is in action. Although all of those like moments that we talked about with Ian and Barbara are all good. It was fine. It's all good.
There were a couple fun little moments, like you mentioned the Doctor hiding inside an empty Dalek and then popping out. That was
and like somehow he not only like knocked the guy out, the guy had no idea who did it. Like that whole scene, like all of a sudden the guard is bound and gagged, I think, on the ground. Right, and they're like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. What? Hartnell's like 1,000 years old.
Well, maybe he was embarrassed. He's like, this really old man beat the crap out of me
and then hid in the Dalek.
Actually, he was already he had tied himself up. He just thought
he was doing that anyway. Like, it was like an eyes wide shut situation.
Yeah. So that was a fun thing. I like the interrogation scene of the Doctor sits in that chair and it straps him down, and there's a little closed circuit TV that can show whatever he's thinking of, and he starts messing with the interviewer. And she's like, "How did you get here?" And he shows a penny farthing instead of the TARDIS. Like that was kind of fun. It maybe. It didn't feel like it carried on too long. It was just like setting up that relationship.
It was cool that they had Vicky too, and I can't remember her freaking bio, but she must be a math whiz. They're always math whizzes. Where she like reprograms the computer. It's got like that AI computer that can detect truth, and it detects the right answer, and she takes the right answer part out of it. That was cool. Like just the idea of that kind of AI that you would talk to unlock the weapons room was interesting.
That was her squeaky fro moment, though, for me, because I wrote that down. She hacks the computer, and it asks her a series of questions, and it asks, what are the arms for? And she has this big grin on her face, and she's like, revolution!
Yeah, blood in the streets! Blood in the streets!
It was great.
And then she wrote pigs on the wall, and I was like, what are you... You're taking it too far. You're taking it too far.
That's Vicky. Just that bloodlust really coming out. So that was fun. Ian did have an extended fight scene, which was...
He always does. He's got to get that in
a little unnecessary, but that's cool. Yeah. Actually, the chase, isn't that when we drop off Barbara and Ian?
Maybe.
That's when they do the montage through London that's all still photography of them.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I think you're right.
This might be just him getting his last... he's doing his Pertwee thing.
All right, let's talk about the show again, of this story.
No.
What is the point of it? of the space
Doctor Who.
museum. And what's the point of what we're doing? No, like they invade this other. They don't want resource. They're not ripping minerals out of the earth.
Nope.
They put a museum in it. Like that part is a little strange. Like it's like this story of colonization and taking over a planet for the point of having a museum that no one's in
anymore. It used to be a popular museum, and it's showcasing. It's supposed to be.
Why? Like,
someone says that it's showcasing all of their conquests.
Yes,
but
yeah, they did say that. Yeah, like all their, because there's guns there and things like that.
Right.
But who's going and why? Like, why would you put a museum on this distant planet with no? They don't have a population living there. It seems like they have like the white.
Is it one of those things where it's like it's a suggested donation, but you really have to pay it anyway?
Yes. I think it is like that. It's like the MoMA. It's a space MoMA.
Right, and they just give you the stink eye if you give them $1.
Yeah, it just seems weird that it's a museum. It's like, well, that's not so bad. Like it's not like they're putting a dump there or they're putting space garbage. It's a museum,
right? Or they're like forced labor mining or something like that. They're just taking over the planet in a gentle way. Yeah, I don't know why they were doing that. Again, maybe it's one of those things where on paper, at first glance, sounds better than they actually decided to.
Yeah, it's like two ideas. It's like the idea of the space museum, which is kind of cool, just like seeing yourself on display. And then they had this other idea of saying all these things about revolution, and they were like, put them together. And it's not always a Reese's. Sometimes it's like, what's going on here? You know what it is? Sure. It's like when they like take Kit Kats too far. You know what I'm talking about? It's it's fine. You don't need to add Doritos to the. You know what? It's like
maybe not the Doritos. I will tell you.
Pump the brakes.
In Tokyo, went to a store that had all the different flavors of Kit Kat, and it's pretty great.
I wish you could go to Tokyo now and record, and then we'd have the old Doctor Who show presents Dan in Tokyo. Where you just eat weird snacks.
Yeah.
Everything's fish-based for some reason. You're like,
you go into a 7-Eleven there, which they have, and
sure.
Right towards the front is, instead of the rolling hot dogs on a thing, it's just all the different soups and dumplings and fish balls and whatever. It's fucking great. Anyway, what were we talking about?
I have no
Doctor
idea.
Who.
I liked it. You liked it. There's more.
But they never really got to the whole time paradox thing, did they? Were you satisfied with that at all? I don't know, because it kind of felt like
it was okay. I like those ideas, and you talked about it already. But I'm going to piggyback as I want to do.
Get on
the idea of free will, or is it destiny? Do you have And they talk about whether or not that, and they make a big deal about changing your own life, and like if I change what I do, will I affect it? And the real thing is. No, it's how you affect other people that changes the future.
Right.
And I think that's such a great lesson or moral or whatever. And you don't see a lot of that. I thought that was kind of cool. And it was how Vicky had given them the bloodlust. And then they, swept in and they took over. And then, of course, whoever's in charge ended up a fascist. And then who knows what's going to happen on this planet in the future. Probably a lot of death, but for now it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that. But what did you
really
think?
Talk about? No. I agree. We didn't really talk much about the Morocks themselves. There was Lobos, the museum thing. Like the
Morocks are the kids.
No,
the Morocks are the people in the white shirts and the giant dumb collars. Yes, and the haircuts, the weirdest haircuts in space.
That's how you can tell that they're aliens. I mean, there just wasn't a whole lot to them. It's like it is an empire. I guess the Doctor kind of mentions that at some point, like the fall of the Roman Empire. But they're at the height of their power. There's Alexander wept for the word no more whatever to whatever quote conquest. It wasn't all that interesting that they're kind of in that position. They were bad, but they weren't. I don't know. What am I trying to say, Eric? Cut all this out.
Keep it.
When you have the baddies in Doctor Who, they're usually very black and white. These are the bad guys.
These are just
the thing
white.
They're doing. These guys are all white. These guys, obviously, they've colonized a planet. They're subjugating the people. to set up a museum. To your point, like why? But okay. But they're not like that bad. Am I apologizing for the Morocco?
I'm not sure what you're doing, but you're basically
apologizing.
saying not all Morocks, I think. We've all known you've been the alt-right member of this.
Xerox will not replace us. Okay, that's too far. I'm done.
I think we can end the show now. I think
That's it. I'm going to end my life. I'm done. All right, Eric. That was what we thought about this story. Hey, for once, a four-parter that felt like 4 parts.
Thank God this was 4 parts.
If this was 6
if
parts...
they had done 6 parts, I would have you'd be right now talking about how you lost me. Send, here's the GoFundMe link.
He's somewhere in the Pine Barrens. We haven't seen him in half a week. Anyway, so that's what we thought about it. We did get some feedback from the Twitters, so thank you people for tweeting at us your replies. You can reach us on Twitter at TODW show, or if you don't want to use the Twitter because it is a vile cesspool of evil, you can also email us as well as the old Doctor Who show at gmail.com. We got a little bit of each. So starting with the Twitters, our friend Paul Paranoid says, one of the best ever early TARDIS scenes, if I remember rightly. I don't think there's a whole lot going on in the TARDIS. We do see, we start off in the TARDIS,
like staring off and
feeling weird, and Vicky goes to the water cooler. That giant ass water cooler. I love it. Any time in the TARDIS is a good time. Paul Waring says the idea of having the TARDIS team in a different time stream is interesting, though it removes all the peril initially. Well, I think it's setting up that existential peril.
Until they catch up with themselves?
Until they catch up with themselves. But then that's really the whole crisis, is not knowing what is the right thing to do, and then just deciding to kind of go with their hearts. Paul continues, seeing a future possibility and then trying to avoid it is novel at this point, but gets overused later. Could see that. Still an enjoyable story for me, though. Totally agree, Paul. I think you just heard us. Lucy McCall says, I like the Space Museum! ! Vicky gets to be a revolutionary, and the first episode is strange and unnerving. Yeah, absolutely.
Vicky also almost has that. See, this was wrong with my brain when I get old. The heiress. Why am I? Patty Hearst. There's a Patty Hearst quality to her as well. Like within a few minutes, she'd be out there robbing a bank with her AK-47.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really want to see. I want to see Vicky replace Che Guevara on the posters.
Oh, you should make T-shirts of Vicky's face, like the Che shirts, and start. Sell
like
them.
a nice duo.
You can have that idea. And it says Vicky, and it's just like the font that would say Che, but it would say Vicky. And then you just send. I'm a medium. And Dan, you're also a medium size.
I'll take a medium. Yeah, that'd be great. As long as it's pre-shrunk. I want a pre-shrunk T-shirt though.
Yeah, and not like the kind that rips your nipples apart.
Right.
Use
Or they
nicer
bunch up at the shoulders.
No.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks,
maybe
guys.
even just 3% spandex would be great. Okay, so now that we've placed our T-shirt orders, but no, I think that's great. Thank you, Lucy. Agree with that. Mestor the Magnificent.
Okay,
says
nice name.
one of my favorite Hartnell serials. Look at us agreeing. After some thought-provoking surrealism in part 1, it becomes a jolly runaround for the rest of the serial. I will say, yes, it was a little bit of a runaround getting in. They had the whole, oh my goodness, we didn't mention the fact that they're in this museum and it's just miles and miles and miles of corridors that all look the same, and they don't know how to find their way back, so they're going to do the Minotaur thing of leaving Ariadne's thread.
And Ian tries to eat
trying to eat Barbara's cardigan. It's just freaking ridiculous.
My favorite part about that is he tries to destroy her sweater before asking her. And she's like, come on, dude. And then she's like,
it's a really nice cardigan. And then has the genius idea of using a penknife instead of his incisors. I don't know what he was thinking, but that was so much fun. But it was a bit of a runaround. The fact that, it's one of those things, like, the Doctor's looking at one of the exhibits, which I guess would be the exhibit that he takes and pilfers for the TARDIS at the very end. He's looking at that, kind of smiling, and walks backwards to a doorway with his back to the door, and then gets grabbed by the kids. And then, like, an episode or two later, Vicky does the exact same thing and gets grabbed by the kids in the exact same spot. It's just one of those, like, if this had been one or two more parts longer, it just would have been 20 minutes of people doing the exact same thing. I'm so glad it didn't happen. But anyway, that's just me. Jumping back into Mr. Magnificent's tweet, says, Hartnell and O'Brien are on sparkling form. Lobos is a hoot. I feel like we barely even talked about Lobos or anyone there, but okay. And the students are revolting. Nothing changes, it would seem. Very good, very good. Let's see. Kevin on video says, I enjoyed it. It's got to be one of the earliest examples of dramatized sci-fi where time travelers cross their own timeline and encounter themselves. 25 years before Back to the Future did it. Back to the Future Part 2 did it. 65, 79. Yeah, I guess, yeah, right around there. Okay. Yeah, super fun. Wow, time is weird in that way.
Yeah,
I really feel like there's much more distance between this episode and Back to the Future, but I guess not. Yeah, very cool. Kevin goes on to say, also, Hartnell cosplaying a Dalek is as adorable as the show's ever been in its 60-year history. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I think it was fun.
The worst thing is they made him sleep in there.
Oh yeah, no, he was there for 2 days, right?
Yeah, it was
2
really
full
cruel.
days. They built the TARDIS around him, the Dalek around him. He had to crouch, and they put
Get back in your. Like we'd yell at him when they would hit cut, and they would someone would come in with one of those whips,
dry his
whip
tears.
in a chair, and then they would make him go back in there. Get back in your travel machine.
He was getting pretty ferocious.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did that. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Misfit Scully says, love the pod and the Sandman episodes. Shout out to Sandman episodes. Thank you.
Yeah, we're unsure how people are reacting to the Sandman.
If even one person enjoys them, that's one more than I
thought
they would.
For that one person.
Continuing, regarding the Space Museum, it's not a classic, but I really like episode 1, which has some clever special
just
effects.
like you. Just like you, Dan.
They were basic compared to what they were used to, but this was series 2 in 1965. It's an okay story. Oh, thanks, Eric, for the stickers, by the way.
I sent the stickers out. Yeah, if you want stickers, you hit me up. Send me a DM on eGrissom on Twitter, and I'll send you something.
Yeah. And also, if you put your sticker up any place, send us a photo of the sticker in the wild. If it's if you can find a nice 1960s style police box somewhere, you want a sticker on it. We didn't tell you to do it. Okay. Paul Faber says the Space Museum has a fascinating premise and hilarious interrogation scene. It gets weaker as it moves along, but leads into the chase, which is compelling. And Vicky is clever too. Yep. It is bonkers how crazy the chase is, especially compared to this one. But, yeah. So everyone kind of feels the same. It starts off much stronger. Alan Kingsley kind of reiterating the same. Love the mystery of the first episode and the boldness of the premise. Hartnell doesn't always work for me, but I think he and the gang are a lot of fun here. And the Doctor does go back kind of to his irascible sort of, like, at the very, very end, one of the last moments in the 4th episode of the story, he's just kind of that old, like, oh, don't you tell me what to do, blah, blah. But the rest of the whole story, he's just charming and fun. I love that. Right, Eric?
Yep. Yes.
Eric's asleep.
I fell asleep. No, I'm not asleep. I'm actually overjoyed because we have some iTunes reviews to read. So I was prepping the iTunes reviews, and Dan mistook that for me falling asleep.
Yep. Last tweet. Thank you. Michael C. says something when I just clicked the wrong thing. Okay, Michael C. says, the Space Museum is grand. The first episode is a masterclass on tension.
Oh.
But the second introduces some great comedic ideas, even if the production doesn't get the most from them. The bored officialdom desperately waiting for the feckless locals to revolt. Yeah, totally. Thank you, Michael, for that as well. We did also get an email, like I said, at the old drwho@gmail.com. Again, this is our friend Paul Paranoid writes to us to say, 7 years and 135 episodes of the old Doctor Who show, and what a story to go out on.
Yay.
Okay.
I love that he's kept that up for so long.
It's almost
Hat
true.
tip.
It's almost true. Spontaneous and voluntary costume changes, alternate timelines, spaceships.
I imagine,
in alphabetical order.
Dan, I'm just going to talk over you.
Yeah, go, please.
I imagine when we are done, which is not far off,
Not far off.
There'll be tears hitting the keyboard as he types that out again.
Oh,
that's the way I'm gonna imagine
There's
it.
gonna be tears,
like tears in heaven.
We're gonna have a clip show at the end, right? We're just gonna take all 140 something episodes and do a best stuff for 3 years. Eric's just gonna be editing forever. Continuing to say, spaceships lined up in alphabetical order, an entire race of undergraduates with weird eyebrows.
Yeah, those eyebrows. We mentioned them, but what was the what were they thinking? Just to make them? Somebody said make them look more alien. And they were like eyebrows. I guess I always find it fascinating what people decide. Either people from the future look like, or alien races, and like the clothing and hairstyles.
Just eyebrows.
First time I've ever seen eyebrows used in that manner.
Let's take these blonde young men and just give them eyebrows, and that'll be it. Are they the entire race? Is it just kids like that,
it's
or are
just
they
male
like a
kids?
faction
I guess there are no women
that we can tell. Hey, it's alien culture. I'm not going to impose my
it's all the
them.
blondies.
It's all the blondies, and a story that in no way contradicts the theory that the Doctor has been playing all the Daleks all along. It's always been the Doctor inside each of those. Hey, it's setting it up right here. All around a great episode and fabulous way to end the whole Doctor Who show. Wah, wah. We'll see you on the new Dreams We Had Last Night themed podcast next time.
Perfect.
Thank you, Paul, for that. Eric, I heard tell.
Oh my God, Dan! I'm so excited, and I feel like maybe I missed it 3 weeks ago when we did this, because this goes back to July 18th. I think we had a show between now and then. So apologies to Dragon Lover Rose, because you had given us this great review, 5 stars. Great podcast. I'm a little embarrassed, not as embarrassed as I am that I missed your review. Anyway, Dragon Lover Rose writes, I'm a little embarrassed, but I just figured out how to review podcasts after 2 years of listenings. But this was my first podcast. Dan, we were Dragon Lover Rose's first podcast. So while Rose is loving dragons, also loved our podcast. These guys have such great rapport. It's interesting hearing the perspective of people who haven't watched these episodes before, and they throw in many interesting pop culture comparisons, which they're clearly expert in. And then it just says 5. I'm assuming that just means 5 stars.
Okay.
But thank you so much, Dragon Lover Rose. That came to us in July, and we have a newer one from August 30th. Another 5-star review. Excellent classic Doctor Who podcast, writes the subject. This is from Jeff Mickham. McCM. Mick G. Dan and Eric are a lot of fun to listen to. I particularly enjoy how Eric absolutely refuses to remember names. And that's mostly my sick, addled brain that doesn't work anymore.
He is not well, folks. We didn't want to say anything and bring you all down, but not doing okay.
Believe me, I edit these podcasts, and I hear the things that come out of my mouth. I'm like, that's not the right word. There's so many times that I'm just saying the wrong word or the wrong thing, but, that's... And then it's like Sisyphus. I have to just keep going back and editing it, and the next episode, the rock crushes me, and I... but remains...
What's happening?
I don't know what's happening. I fell into a hole. Cool. I particularly enjoy how Eric absolutely refuses to remember names, but remains so good-natured about it that it really doesn't matter. Keep up the good work, and thanks for sticking with the Hartnell and Troughton episodes. You're very welcome. Thank you, Jeff.
We have no choice.
Yes.
Hey, Eric, can I brighten your day even further?
Yes, please.
We have a review from the Great British Empire. Wait, no, I'm going to change that
back.
We have a review from Great Britain.
Yes.
We do. It's a 5-star review from Lord Radu.
Oh, Lord Radu. Thank you, Lord Radu.
From July 28th. They do their dates in a weird way compared to the American way.
Before you go off on this, I don't remember if I said this before. Our UK audience is now dwarfing our US audience. Where we used to be like 50-50, now it's like we almost have twice as many people in the UK than the US. It's kind of interesting. Just thought I'd throw that out there. At least on Spotify. I don't know what Apple stats are showing.
Huh.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
Okay, it's going on to say, from Lord Radu, refreshingly simple yet perfect.
Oh, thank you.
I've gotten the first half of that before. Well, the simple part, anyway. After listening to Eric and Dan reviewing The Modern Undead, I found myself downloading pretty much all of the other shows. I have literally spent the whole day listening in random order to most of the back catalog and eagerly await the next installment. It's addictive listening and highly recommended, this pod.
Love it.
The format is simple, yet the friendship shines through as does their love for our favorite sci-fi show. Can't wait to hear their view on Talons of Wang Chiang. You don't have to wait. It's right there.
There it is.
Keep up the great work, guys. I'm hooked. Thank you to my new friend, my new favorite person, for that review. That was very nice.
Thank you very much. I hope that the episodes you haven't heard keep up the momentum, and you don't start going, "Oh boy."
Wait till you get to the Sandman episodes. Here's one. I'm not. Oh no, that's it. Sorry, that was it.
All right.
I'm just gonna start
Fair
reading
evnough.
Reviews from 2021. Do you want me to read reviews
No,
from a couple years ago?
I think we
Let's go
covered
back
all
in.
the 2021.
Let's go review all. We're gonna review the reviews. It's gonna be the review podcast.
Yeah.
That
was a great show. Review.
Oh, it was a great show. Andy Daly.
Who was one of my favorite comedians.
Absolutely.
I love that show.
It's so good.
I don't know if enough people watch that show, but
if any of you crazy people out there have a sense of humor like ours, and are looking for something totally different, and you haven't seen it yet, go check out the podcast Super Ego. Andy Daly guests on that all the time. It's all improv, and I went to see them live once. Paul F. Tompkins was performing with them. It was so good. Anyway, so highly recommend. We're going to recommend other podcasts.
Hot take.
Hot takes from a podcast that they no longer do. Anyway,
all right.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Let's end it. Yep. Thank you.
We're going to end our lives. If you need anything, you can call Eric on his personal phone number. It is 732.
Oh, that's too close to the truth. You went too close to the sun, Icarus.
Anyway.
Yeah, you can reach me, though, at Egrism on Twitter, or you can go to Amazon.com or your favorite bookstore or library and read any number of graphic novels I wrote, such as Goblin, middle grade graphic novel available now from me and artist Will Perkins.
I don't have any.
Yeah, that helps me a lot.
You don't have to.
You can go to DanJNJ on Instagram or Twitter.
I don't put it on anything. Instagram, Twitter, TODW Show, theolddoctorwhoshow.com. You can check out our previous episodes. I'm sorry, in the podcast feed is only the most recent 100 episodes because we're using a service that I don't pay for to make this happen. If you want to go back and check older episodes, go to the schedule page. You can get links to each of those. See all the GIFs there as well.
I have one announcement to make.
Here
forgot.
It comes. This is Eric's last episode.
If anybody listening is a teacher in middle school, a middle school teacher, Alex Dwyer, had reached out to me. They enjoyed Goblin. They created a curriculum that uses Common Core standards for 6th grade, built it for the book. So if you are a teacher and you're interested in introducing graphic novels into your classroom, you can go to realmofgoblin.com. You click on educators. It's a PDF. It's free. You download it. Hopefully it helps you.
That's very
That
cool.
is all.
You are infecting the minds of our youth in the best possible way. Good job.
Thank you. And so let's end this by telling people that next time, our next Doctor Who adventure takes us to the Crotons.
The
Crotons, which is a John Pertwee story, which I know nothing about. So
nope, me neither.
That's what's coming next. Oh no, it's our last John Pertwee. There's no more parts? John Pertwee after the Crotons, Dan.
Then we're just doing Hartnell for the rest of our lives?
It's just Hartnell. No, I think there's still some
Baker.
I don't know. No Troughton. We have more Troughton. And we have one more Baker, 2 more Troughtons, and 1 more Hartnell.
Wow.
So it's real,
We're getting
really near the end here. So
it's happening.
Yeah, there you go. So
we're doing a farewell
tour
to
Pertwee next time.
And then we're just going to do reruns of
then we start over with
Colin Baker's. Yep. Fantastic. Eric, thanks for a great time. Everyone, thank you for listening. And we will talk to you again
see you,
real soon. Bye.
Peace. Be good.
Gone with the wild wind, like it was a dream. Now it's preserved for all to see, like nothing you've ever seen. Right this way to the Museum of Love. You've got to see him. It's love. This is right here where he stood when he said those sacred words and he made a holy vow. And these are the drawings and the library card. And this is the cow. See it all in the hall of sadness. Please don't miss the exhibit of man.